Hello, my name is Matt Pfeiffer, and welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I create videos and content about toxic, narcissistically abusive relationships, self-development, and overall relationships as a whole. And if you have a question that you'd like for me to answer, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Just make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you're also very direct and to the point what your question actually is. If it's too long, if it's too lengthy, or if I don't understand what you're asking, unfortunately, I will not be able to get to it. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe notification and the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. I upload new videos on this channel 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. If you need more assistance than what one of my videos may have to offer, you can always subscribe to one of my membership coaching tiers. And if you go to the link, you can find out how to do that. And you can subscribe right here on YouTube. And there's additional trainings, there's additional courses, there's discounts on courses and discounts on other services that I have to provide. With all that being said, let's get into today's email. So today's email comes from a person who is going through a custody situation with someone who has some very, very strong toxic narcissistic tendencies and some traits. And if you know anything about co-parenting or going through custody arrangements with someone like that, it is very difficult. But the situation here is a little bit more unique because we're talking about an infant that was born 3 weeks premature. So there's a lot of concerns that this child cannot advocate for themselves. So let's break this situation down for this person. Let's see if we can offer this person help and also anyone else who might be listening. So this email reads, "Thank you, Matt. I have a child with a guy that I only dated for 9 months." So one of the things that we want to say, and I'm not getting on anyone because I think a lot of us as adults, we can say that we all could be in a situation like this, but we need to learn and use wisdom moving forward now that we have made certain mistakes, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and we're protecting ourselves, because the reality of it is that after 9 months, we really just don't know people very well. So with all that being said, let's get back into this. I have a child with a guy that I've only dated for 9 months. I ignored all the red flags, which I'm not proud of, but I'm currently in the process of healing and forgive myself as I speak. He filed for visitation when our son was only 3 weeks old, born prematurely. He tried to portray me as a bitter baby mama, stating that I was mad at him because he didn't want to be a family with me. So I want to break that down really quickly. One of the things that I tell people who I work with, that it's very common for someone who's toxic, someone who's narcissistic, to spin all these sensationalized stories and narratives when they get to court. And I'm going to talk from both ends of the sexes because it happens to both men and women. So one of the things that narcissists do, and they're really good at it, is that they use gender biases as a weapon for themselves in court. So a narcissistic man will say that the woman is bitter and that they're withholding the child, and because the man decided not to be with them. A narcissistic woman will say that the narcissistic man is a deadbeat and wants no involvement with the children. And guess what? The problem is that these stories are so frequent and so common, and they really do actually happen, that the fear for the person who struggles with codependency is that these stories will be believable. So what I tell people I work with is that we have to understand that courts know this. They know it. When they hear all of these statements, when they hear these stories, right, they understand that there's some people that there are situations where that is the reality, that is the fact, that is what's actually happening. And they also understand that there's a lot of situations that are being sensationalized. So we have to understand that the narcissist can go into court and they can literally say anything. It doesn't mean that it's real. It doesn't mean that it's true. This is the reason why people have to show evidence in court. People can't just go in places and just say something. They have to be able to show that this really is the actual situation. So partner with your lawyer, and your lawyer will be able to show you how to show that this isn't the reality of it. Now, I said all that to say this. We need to prove in court, not to the narcissist. You will never Never, ever, as long as you live, prove to the narcissist that you're not doing this, because that doesn't fit their narrative, number one. And number two, the lie is comfortable to them, and the lie fits their narrative, and it helps them manipulate. And so a lot of times as codependents, we want to prove to them, no, 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 I promise I'm being a good mother, I'm being a good father, let me show you, right? And what happens is that when we fall for that, right, we actually give overpower and control even more to the narcissist, right? So we need to be very mindful of that. The only two people we need to be able to prove ourselves to is our lawyer and the judge. That's it, right? The narcissist can eat shit. If they're pissed off about what custody arrangement there is, and if you're not being flexible in the eyes of the narcissist and that sort of thing, they can eat shit. Let's get back into this. He tried to portray me as a bitter baby mama, and stating that I was mad at him because he didn't want to be a family with me, and that I would not let him see our son. We both have lawyers, which is good. I know some people can get annoyed with the narcissist lawyer, but it's still better for the narcissist to have a lawyer than not, because sometimes the lawyer can talk more sense into them than you can, because they see the lawyer as on their team. Sometimes the lawyer can be a prick too. So our son is now 1 year old. Since then, he's been doing family type of events with me and his son. Manipulation, while he was also plotting this on me the entire time while I was documenting. So this is warning number one. So I know a lot of times people fall for this, right? They do this, where they spend time with the narcissist, with the child, to try to ease the tension with narcissists, to try to prove that they're co-parenting and that sort of thing. Do not do this. Here's the reason why. So let's say that you have all this evidence showing that this person is dangerous, that this person is narcissistic, right? Evidence, real hardcore evidence that you should fear this person, he's being manipulative, and you have proof that this person is like this, and reason to believe that your child should not be left alone with the narcissist. Then you take it to court and you show the judge, you show the lawyers, right, that this person should not be trusted one-on-one, or you should minimize the amount of time that you should spend with this, that the child should spend with them. You just wiped out all of it. Why? Because if you're trying to prove that this person is horrible, in the eyes of the judge and the eyes of the court, why would we spend time with them? Right? I know a lot of people who struggle with this, and a lot of times people struggle with the thought that courts don't believe victims. That's true. Let me explain to you the reasons why, though. Right? People quite often who are going through custody situations, going through divorces with a narcissist, will say the courts don't favor victims, they don't like victims, they don't believe us. It's because everybody in court who shows up says that they are the victim. Even the narcissist does that. Right? So the courts are not looking for who the victim is, they're looking for the adult. Who's the adult? Who's the more mature person? Right? How do they determine this? By their actions. If someone is abusive, controlling, if someone is manipulative, if someone is acting the way that people are saying, then the adult thing to do would be to not spend time with them, right? And so a lot of times people would say, well, but then they're going to get angry. The adult thing to do is to set proper mental and emotional boundaries and say they're allowed to be angry, but I'm still not going to come off the plan, or I'm still not going to do this. I'm going to set good, healthy boundaries, right? And so we have to be, and I don't want to freak you out because I'm sure your lawyer can talk you through this process, but we need to be very mindful of the way that our actions are, what our actions is saying to the judge and saying to the court, because when we begin to flip this around, right, what we're actually doing is we're actually enabling behavior. You're actually proving his point, right? This is the reason why we have to allow for the narcissist to be angry, allow for them to be upset, right? And what happens is that shows the judge the reasons why you don't want to spend time with them, the reasons why you don't want the child over there, right? When you start getting those nasty messages, when you start getting the nasty emails and that sort of thing, right? But what happens is that when we spend time with him, it shows that you guys are actually trying, and that maybe that you guys can be cordial, right? And that maybe his story is a little bit more believable, because when you go in there and you tell him that he's vicious, right? Then we show the behavior of you actually spending time as a family and that sort of thing, right? It doesn't look like you're making adult decisions. Right, let's continue with this email. He's done so much to damage me and my livelihood over the past 3 years. You see what I'm saying? So we have a situation where we're saying that and I'm not saying these things aren't true, right? I understand the reasons why you would want to continue to spend time with him, but we want to be aware of what that looks like in the eyes of court. We're saying for 3 years that this person destroyed your livelihood, but we're also saying that it's okay to spend time as a family. The two don't work well together, right? So we need to make some decisions and make some hard decisions of what this dynamic is going to look like. I did go outside of the temporary visitation plan, which I shouldn't have. He has now weaponized it against me. I hope the judge sees that. If we don't clear up a lot of this behavior, he won't, right? And that's where I'm going with this. If we don't clear up our behavior, if we don't begin to set better boundaries, if we continue to spend time as a family, if we continue to come off the order, it shows that your behavior shows the judge that the two of you have the ability to co-parent properly, right? As if there's no issues, right? That's what your behavior is telling the judge, right? So if that's what you want the judge to see, then you need to stop, right? You need to stick with the order. And I understand from a codependent and a people-pleasing standpoint, the thought process is that if I am nice to the narcissist, then maybe I can soothe his anger, and then he's going to be nice and we can co-parent properly. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Not with someone with tendencies, not with someone who has the ability to try to destroy and manipulate and that sort of thing. But let's get back into this, because I know there's some concerns with the baby as well. Not only is he asking for 50-50 now, but he wants me to pay him child support from the same job he and his girlfriend tried to have me fired from. He is evil and very codependent. The only way he can get a place of his own is by having our son live with him a certain amount of days in a month. He can barely handle our child at 1 year old. So let's use this as an example. So you have a temporary custody arrangement. Right now, you guys are spending time as a family. And this is exactly what I mean when I say that we have to be very aware of how our behavior is actually enabling the narcissist. I personally call it covering the sins of the narcissist. So when you spend time as a family, who's actually taking care of the baby? Who's actually taking care of the child? Right? You are. You're changing the diapers. You're feeding the baby. You're taking care of the baby while the baby's sick, and everything that goes along with raising a child. The narcissist doesn't have to do anything. So then you go to court, and there's no problems. There's nothing wrong, right? Nothing happens. There's no complaints, right? There's no proof. There's no evidence. We don't have the text messages of him saying, "Get your ass over here," like the things that narcissists typically do, or the other things that narcissists do. I'm not coming unless you can be cordial and spend time with me as a family, right? And all those type of things, and all those text messages, and all those emails, right? We're covering the sins. If he's not able to, right, then, and I know that's very scary for a lot of people, right? But if there is temporary visitation, let him visit the child without any help, without any assistance. And when he starts to complain, and when he starts to do his thing, right, then now you are able to show the evidence that he's not capable of doing this 50-50. Right? Let me get back into this email. He can barely handle our child at 1 year old. How can I go about protecting our son from his own father early on when I know his father is desperate at this point and has been very manipulative? So, a couple of things that I would say. So, I don't know what state you're in, but most states do, in this type of situation, do what's called a step up plan. It doesn't sound like we have grounds to completely like void his parenting or anything like that. However, I would talk to your lawyer about a step up plan, right? Especially because, and so what your goal is that you want to talk to them, to the lawyer and to the judge, and you want to prove what's in the best interest of the child. What's in the best interest of the child, especially this young, right? It's not likely 50-50. It's more likely a step up where he spends majority of the time with you, and with the intent that you work to 50-50 once he's at a certain age. Now, with that being said, this is where let's circle back to what I was talking about in terms of you being the adult in the room, making adult decisions, right? Because the narcissist isn't going to stop with this, right? Let's say that you do earn the step up plan like I was talking about, right? The narcissist is likely going to try to take you back because this is about you to him. And if you continue to enable, if you come off the plan the way that you have been, right, once the plan is awarded, right, what's going to happen is that if the narcissist takes you back and says, hey, we've been able to do it this entire time and now she's complaining, right, then now what you did is that you just enabled the narcissist. So once you get a plan in place, let's say that's a step-up plan, or even this visitation, this temporary visitation. I'm not sure what your temporary visitation is, but typically speaking, the temporary visitation is pretty close to what the actual arrangement is going to be, typically, unless someone screws it up. So if you have majority of the custody right now, and he can fight for 50-50, but it's more likely that the visitation will remain pretty close to what the temporary visitation actually is, right? So if you already have pretty close to what you're looking for in this temporary visitation, what I typically tell people is just don't screw it up, right? By doing things, I'm not getting on you, don't want to scare you, right? But by doing some of the things that you're doing, right? It's not too late to turn it around because you're still in court and you're still going through the process. So it's not too late to turn it around, but that's how you screw it up, right? So thank you very much for writing in. Anyone else who would like to write in, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. So make sure you keep the email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you're also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. Also, make sure that if you would like my help, you can go to the links in my bio, or you can join my YouTube community. I have a lot of different trainings, a lot of different courses, discounts depending on what type of tier that you get into. Make sure you check that out. With all that being said, thank you guys very much, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.